Thank you for listening to this PodcastOne production. Available on Apple Podcasts and PodcastOne.
The Steve Austin Show is brought to you free today by our friends at BetOnline.ag. 2020 is off to a wild start with incredible sports betting action in the NBA, NHL, MMA. All this plus NFL playoff action is yours for the taking. Get in the mix at BetOnline.ag and use the promo code PodcastOne for your 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline.ag, your online sportsbook experts and exclusive partner of PodcastOne Sports Net.
PodcastOne presents Steve Austin Show Classics.
Every week, we are bringing out some of the most requested episodes of the podcast from behind the archives. We have another great one for you this week, and here's my producer, Shawn, to tell you all about it.
What's crappening, everybody? It's producer Shawn with another classic episode of the Steve Austin Show. Today we're doing episodes number 118 and 120 with Cowboy James Storm. Original air dates May 22nd, 2014 and May 29th, 2014. Around this time, James was a freshly turned heel in TNA, and that's stemming from his fractured tag team with Gunner. They were tag team champions for a minute and they lost the belts. And then eventually Gunner, who you may also know as Jackson Riker in NXT, Gunner jumped in the Feast or Fired Battle Royal and managed to get one of the briefcases before James Storm did, and ended up having a world championship title shot in it. So they feuded over that, and eventually James transitioned into wrestling Mr. Anderson, which he talks about on this episode, and they wrestled at Slammiversary in 2014. So that's what's going on around this time for James Storm, and he's hanging out with Steve at 317 Gimmick Street, talking about the business of pro wrestling. We're talking about pro wrestling promos. We're talking about the six-sided ring in TNA, and talking about things that I didn't know about James. I didn't know he was a talented basketball player. He had a scholarship to go play basketball in college, but he ended up doing pro wrestling, trained under Tony Falk, Tony Falk, and Dutch Mantel, who, of course, many of you know from Steve's history. But James, a student of the game, just very well learned in the history of pro wrestling, and they do talk about some of James' favorite wrestlers, including Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Jake Roberts, Curt Hennig, who James says is his favorite wrestler. Lots of cool stuff in here, and also Dave Meltzer gave James Storm and whoever he was in the matches with, James Storm won the worst worked match of the year 2 times from the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards. Steve and James talk about that. One of them was for the Reverse Battle Royal, and another was for a blindfold match. Not all blindfold matches are good. I can't remember exactly a blindfold match that I appreciated. I mean, I think the best one would have been Jake Roberts and Rick Martel at WrestleMania 7, but that's for nostalgia reasons. Anyways, James Storm coming up on this classic episode. This day in Steve Austin history. Today we start off, it is January 9th. We kick it off in WCW in 1993 in Monroe, Louisiana, where WCW NWA Tag Team Champions Ricky Steamboat and Shane Douglas defeated Steve Austin and Brian Pillman. Get used to hearing that result because those two teams wrestled each other a lot in 1993. Then we go to 1994 in Gainesville, Georgia. This was a WCW main event airing where WCW US champion Steve Austin, with Colonel Robert Parker in his corner, defeated Larry Santo. After the bout, Austin continued to beat up on Larry Santo, to which Brian Pillman ran out for the save and sent Austin to the floor. And then also in this whole fracas, Dustin Rhodes was there, and Brian and Dustin cornered Colonel Robert Parker with the head of a chicken suit because we were on our way to Loser Wears a Chicken Suit match, I believe. I think that was at one of the clashes. Tony Schiavone conducted an interview with Parker and Austin at ringside, and Austin said he and WCW International World Champion Rick Rude will gladly face Brian Pillman and Dustin Rhodes the next week on Main Event, and that he and Parker had a surprise for Pillman in the chicken suit match. Then finally, in 2001, in Oakland, California, we have a WWF SmackDown where Chris Jericho and the Dudley Boys fought WWF Intercontinental Champion Chris Benoit and the WWF Tag Team Champions Edge and Christian to a no contest when Steve Austin came to the ring and hit Bubba, Devon, and Edge with a chair. Then afterwards, Steve demanded that Vince McMahon come out and tell him whether or not he was in the Royal Rumble match, and Vince said he was, and Steve would go on to win that Royal Rumble in 2001. So that's it for this day in Steve Austin history, today being January 9th. I got my information from the historyofwwe.com and profightdb.com. All right, we'll come back after the break with Cowboy James Storm on a classic episode of the Steve Austin Show.
The new year brings a whole new feeling of anticipation when it comes to the sports betting odds in football and hockey. This weekend is divisional matchups in NFL playoffs. Then over in the NHL, the Bruins, Capitals, Blues, and Golden Knights all stand atop of their respective divisions. Who knows what 2020 will have in store? Visit our good friends and exclusive partners at PodcastOne, betonline.ag, to take advantage of the best bonuses in the business. Sign up today for a free account at betonline.ag and use the promo code PodcastOne. Again, that's betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts and exclusive partners of PodcastOne Sportsnet.
Podcast One presents the Steve Austin Show Classics.
Cheers. Cheers, man. Wicked beer to the working man. Okay, dig this. You just rolled in from Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
You up here in Marina Del Rey. You was out and about on the streets of Los Angeles. Where did you go? To Beverly Hills, Hollywood today? Where at?
Yeah, well, went over to Hollywood, a couple meetings over at Paramount Picture Studios or whatever, so.
All right, so check it out. You country boy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't imagine that this is a gimmick. This is an act. I don't think you too much city slicker.
No, not that much.
Okay, so you roll up in Los Angeles and ride around. I know this ain't your first time to town, but what's your impressions? How is this vibe different from the Nashville area where we come up in?
Well, it's one of those things. I walk down the street looking the way I do, and everybody just stares at me like this.
People staring at you?
This son of a bitch does not belong here.
Yeah, but hold on. Now, why do you think they're thinking you don't belong?
Well, number one, hell, half of them's all clean shaved and suits and everything else, and here I am with cowboy boots, blue jeans, and long hair.
You got that long sleeve shirt rolled up. You got your forearms all swole up. You got that cross around your neck, that big chain. Now, you got this gadget going on your face here because you done tricked out the beard since the last time I seen you. And I met you, James, a couple of years ago at the Legends Bar in Nashville, Tennessee, when I was about to promote, we was going to the CMT Music Awards and promoting Redneck Island. I don't remember what season it was, and you came down by the Legends Bar.
It was first season.
Yeah. And we drank a bunch of beer together. Did you add this contraption here on the downside here?
Yeah, man, this is my heel look now.
So you done turned heel. So no, you got to see. You got a fresh picture on your Twitter account. Yeah, I'm talking about. No, we're going to take a picture and I'll put it on my Twitter account anyway. So, dude, you got this contraption on your face, this gadget beard, as we will call it. Now, it looks good on you.
Gimmick.
Yeah, it's a gimmick, but it looks good, and you done turned heel. So, how hard is it to maintain that motherfucker?
Oh, it sucks. I'm half blind in my left eye, so trying to shave this son of a bitch over here, and you mess it up, you in trouble,
dude. And then look at my scraggly ass goatee. When I get in there with my double blade razor, try to trim these curb feelers right here. When I trim, if I nick into one, and then you look like shit, for a couple of days, I'm like, God damn,
it's so short. Yeah, so short and used to it being long. Yeah, it's
so. What's with the new look? You switched heel over there in TNA or what?
Yeah, man, I switched heel, and I'm loving it. It's one of those things that it's just a new, refreshed gimmick for me. Like I'm having fun doing it. Hadn't been heel in probably 8-9 years, so I just want to kind of do something.
Whose idea was it?
It was my idea. I've been babyface so long, and some of the runs that I had was just not really what I wanted, and I was like, time for me to do something different.
We were talking earlier. I said, and I'll ask you right now while the recorder's rolling. You like working heel or baby better?
Well, I told you heel, but the problem is you fucked that up for all the heels because everybody wants to cheer the bad guy now because they see this guy just whooping the shit out of this pretty boy because the pretty boys are not baby faces anymore. Nobody wants to cheer for a guy that has 6 packs, 6'4", clean shaved. Everybody wants to see that rugged son of a bitch that's beating the hell out of him.
Well, yeah, the thing, I guess I brought an intrinsic amount of entertainment to the bad side of things, but in my honest attempt, I mean, that was my attempt at being a heel, and then just based on the way society or the things were back in the day, and things started flipping for me. And I remember, I've told this story several times. Brian Pillman just come up to WWF. And I'd go out there and I'd get a bigger pop than the babyface I was working with. And he'd be back here because, Brian loved being a heel. Yeah. And he'd come back here and he'd be laughing at me right when I come back through the doors from working the match. He goes, God damn it, kid, you're a babyface. And I said, hey, fuck you, man. I said, I'm a fucking heel. You take that serious.
Right, yeah.
And so, it was Vince's vision to flip me. And we did the turn at 13. And, my run was what it was. And I had an absolute blast working as quote unquote babyface Stone Cold Steve Austin. But I love working heel. To me, they're just there's more freedom, more liberty, more you can push the envelope in more different directions, in my estimation.
Yeah, I always say it's easier to piss somebody off than it is to make somebody happy.
That's a damn simplified way of putting it, and I think that hits it right on the head.
That's it. And every time I go out, and now I'm fresh off a babyface run, and so people really don't want to boo me right now. So I'm doing everything I can.
So who are you feuding with right now?
Ken Anderson. I just came off a feud with Gunner. And so now me and Ken's kind of starting something up right now, and it's fresh. We got a couple matches. I think we're going to work each other at Slammiversary. So
now you're 36, right?
Yeah.
How long you been in the business? 12?
17 years.
17 years?
Yeah.
You old motherfucker. This is what this looks like. My old buddy Brian Knives, a guy like you, as young as you are, have that many years in the business. Call him the young old guy. He's still young as far as a human being goes, but you got a lot of years in the business.
Yeah, you feel like you're 50.
Yeah.
You've been in the business that long.
So that being said, with 17 years in the business, how is the body feeling? Because I know I only made 13 or 14. I kind of had a, aggressive bump style. You do as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes I really feel like shit. So you still got a lot of gas left in the tank. First off, how you feeling? Then let's talk about how much you got left in the ring.
Yeah, man. I like, every time I tell somebody 17 years, they always give me that, ooh.
Anybody that knows will give that,
Yeah, they're like, and I've, I don't want to say I filled up my bump card, but hey, I'm about halfway through it. So it's one of those things where, I still got a lot of gas in the tank.
But on a physical level, no knee surgeries, no shoulder surgeries.
Yeah, I've actually had my eye socket repaired, my left eye socket right here.
Now, tell me about this eye damage you was talking about. You having a hard time seeing out of that. What did you do that thing? In the ring?
Yeah, I got hit with a chair, and some bitch had it turned the wrong way. The seat part that had the lip on it, and the lip caught me right there and just split it wide open. And this whole part was hanging down. You see my damn eyeball through it. It was.
If there's one thing I can't stand is a motherfucker who don't know what he's doing when he's swinging a steel chair. Because now, James, tell me. Now, dig this. When I went to professional wrestling school with gentleman Chris Adams back in 1989, they taught me how to chain wrestle. They told me how to take a bump. They damn sure didn't tell me how to swing a steel chair. That was on the job training.
Right.
So you take the chair, and people always ask me, do those steel chairs hurt? Yeah, they hurt like a motherfucker. God, but so what happened? Did you finish the match?
Yeah.
Did it crush the socket?
Yeah, it actually broke it right here. There's they had to shave it off right there and sew it back up and everything. And so yeah, I'm partially blind in my left eye right here. So I actually get fucked up when I have to wrestle in a dark place with yellow ropes and stuff, and I have to do my steps, make sure so it's a hassle.
So other than that, then
I've had my shoulder repaired. I broke it training with Wolfie D back in '96.
Back in the day, man. Yeah, I remember Wolfie D from back when I was in Memphis.
Yeah, I broke my shoulder, compound fracture. Went in, had emergency surgery on it. Couldn't use it for 9 months.
How's that thing now?
It's stronger than my left one.
Really?
Yeah.
Sometimes I got lucky. I had my shoulder rebuilt 2 years ago now, and they put 8 screws and 2 staples in that motherfucker. And I'm 100%. And I talked to a lot of my buddies that have had the rotator cuffs and stuff done, and oh man, and their shit just don't come back for them because it's just a tricky joint. And you're 100% on that thing?
Yeah, and when I first came back from it, it's like anything else. Like I was scared to bump. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how I was gonna hold up, and then 4 or 5 matches in, I just completely forgot about it and just went on about my bumping business.
Okay, so the rest of the carcass?
It's holding up pretty good. Yeah.
Okay, 17 years in the business. You prefer working heel. How long did it take you once you started? Now, Dutch Mantell had a hand in breaking you in?
Yeah, well, actually, I met Dutch back when, because I grew up watching USWA, and I went to the USWA wrestling school. Yep. And Eddie Marlin and Jeff Jarrett's dad, Jerry Jarrett, was running it. out at Jerry's farm in his old barn, and it was dusty as hell, just hot, and we would be out there, you know, training, and Wolfie was the trainer, so you know, we'd go out there every Saturday morning, and then we had to go over to the fairgrounds and set the ring up.
Stop. What are y'all doing out there? Because you're talking about around the Hendersonville area, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you out there in Jerry's barn. What kind of training y'all doing? Y'all bumping, chain wrestling, the simple shit?
Yeah, no, basics. No, we ran the damn ropes forever.
Like, well, yeah, run the ropes.
Yeah, I mean, they say, well, before you can even do anything, you need to learn how to run the ropes or whatever. Agreed. Then, you know, one or two weekends was like running the ropes, and then after that, we learned just to take back bumps. You know,
isn't it amazing when you were in your teachings there, how many people were in the school with you?
Man, there was probably almost 60 people.
Man, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Now I think I broke in when I think there was about 30 people when I started. I mean, and we just only had one ring, probably like y'all did. So let me ask you, the question is, ain't it funny how some people just seem like they're allergic to the ropes?
Oh,
because some people don't want to cascade and crisscross and hit those motherfuckers like you want to. And you can't just bounce on them ropes. You know, you got to attack the ropes.
You got to hit them.
Yeah.
Like I see a lot of people nowadays, they just kind of barely run into them. Like, no, you need to hit them some bitches.
Because they throw you back across, man. I mean, you get that good rebound. If there's one thing I can't stand is a mealy-mouthed motherfucker lollygagging while he's trying to hit the damn ropes in the middle of a spot because he's scared they're going to hurt his ribs. But it's funny because that's one of the hardest people for some people to attack.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, we after that, you know, then we kind of went into the basics, you know, locking up and, you know.
Gotta lock up. Yeah. Goddamn, I always say a shitty lockup is a real good start to what can be a real shitty match. Yeah. That lockup means everything because that's okay. Here's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Okay, we're just going to limp into this thing and brother-in-law each other and, hey, you know, tell everybody it's a fucking work. Right. Or you're going to go in there with a good snug lock-up. And then you ain't got to kill each other.
No.
Like Ricky Morton, I mean, you know, lock up with Ricky, and Ricky make a good lock-up, but you wouldn't feel it.
Yeah.
But
soft
it looks
as a
good.
Feather. Yeah.
Soft as a feather. So it ain't got to hurt. It's just got to look good.
Yeah. It's an illusion. That's what I tell everybody, you know.
So keep going.
So, you know, we learned all that and then I remember it was about 6 weeks in is when I broke my shoulder. I was about 150 pounds then, and they wanted me to do some damn flip, you know, clothesline me, flip, land. I said, I ain't never done one of them some bitches in my life. He goes, oh, no, well, I'll hit you and you'll go. Well, he didn't hit me good enough, and I came right down the shoulder and just popped it right out.
So you get the emergency surgery for that. You're down for how long, and then you get back in when?
I was down about 8-9 months, and then I came back, and they shut down the school. So I had to go and find some other training somewhere.
My Chris Adams training school, I can't remember what the other students paid. I guess we all paid the same money. But when I talked to Chris, you know, I was charged $1,500 to learn how to wrestle. When it was all said and done, I'd paid 1,000 of it, and he let me slide on another 500 if I remember the story correctly, because we were cool and we were working that hot angle that helped me out a whole lot, helped me get Rookie of the Year because of the high-profile feud with him and everybody involved. What did it cost you to learn how to wrestle, or at least on that first endeavor?
When I first signed up, I had to pay $1,000.
Okay,
and then it was $20 every time we come. We had to give them $20.
Okay,
and man, and I can see why they charged that fee up front, because them some bitches started dropping like flies.
Damn right they do.
They started hitting that mat, and you know, they didn't want no more of it.
Okay, so then you that school shuts down. You're back in action, but you still need some training. So you go where?
Yeah, so I went up to Columbia, Tennessee, and Tony Falk was up there.
Yeah, Cowboy Tony Falk. Goddamn. That's a name I have not heard in a long time. Tony used to referee a lot of my matches, and Tony was a good worker.
Yeah, oh yeah,
good solid mechanic. So I don't know, Tony listen to this show, but hello, Cowboy Tony Falk from Steve Austin. So keep going.
Yeah, so I met up with Tony Falk and this guy named Ben Jordan that was up in WWE for a little bit doing some jobs, and they told me to find this other guy named Shane Morton, or Ricky Morton's nephew or whatever. He does a little training. So I met up with him and trained just a little bit more, and then started doing the independents around, you know, Tennessee and Mississippi and stuff. And first match, I drove down to Jackson, Mississippi, $5.
Jackson, Mississippi, $5. God damn.
And I had to drive it while the rest of some bitches sat in the back and just drank the whole time.
Man, I remember looking back at a couple of my pay stubs when I first started working with Jarrett. My lowest pay for him was $15, but pretty much I averaged about $20 a shot for many, many nights. $5. That's a pretty thin dime. But you know what, man? When I look back at those times when I was in USWA, and man, I had a damn good, a pretty good WCW run. I got a little disenchanted towards the end. It was a good thing I got fired. And then, I came into WWF, a shitty gimmick, then turned into Stone Cold. It was great. It was a great ride. Right. But some of my most fun times, James, were paying dues. And I was starving, just like you making $5 a night, and I was making 15. Shit.
I was hungry.
What am I complaining about? And I was eating raw potatoes and it was bad. Yeah. But those were some of the most fun times because you're so green. And were you traveling with any veterans that you could learn from and pick their brain?
I trained, Wolfie and all those guys. And, what was down in Memphis with Lawler and all those guys. And I learned, go to the dressing room, shut up, listen. And that's what I did. I listened to these some bitches talk, Lawler and Dundee and all these guys, and Dutch was down there. And I just listened to, like how they would put matches together and what they would do when they went out there, and I sat at that curtain and watched them, and it's cool now because I'll look and I'll see Kurt Angle sit at the curtain at TNA, and he'll watch every damn match, man.
Still.
Yeah. Even after he goes on, he'll come back and sit there and watch it. And I'm looking around at all these other green people who should be watching, and they don't give up. They don't give a fuck.
That's a testament. I mean, I remember that we was in a little spot show, and I went out there and worked with a guy in a hood, stunk the joint out, and I came back. Dutch cussed me out like he should have. I told a story before, and he said, "You see that steel chair over there?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You get that steel chair, you go sit in the door, you watch every match on the card." So I watched every goddamn match on the card from then on, all the way till I got out of business, damn near as much as I could. But that's a testament to Kurt Angle. I got so much respect for that guy. I remember watching him have a match down in Jacksonville, Florida. It was a television taping. We was all sitting out on a bunch of chairs before the matches. I always loved working Jacksonville, that old Coliseum. And there was a little bit, these days it's so high profile. There was a couple 18-wheelers out there with some steel chairs. And Kurt Angle came up to me and said hello and paid his respects. I was starting to get a little bit of momentum. At least I was respected within the industry as being a mechanic. And I've never seen anybody pick up the business as fast as Kurt Angle, as well as Kurt Angle, and turn into the performer that he turned into, just as far as in-ring work, psychology, and a promo. The guy kicked ass, and that's why he's still able to keep doing it, because he's still watching the goddamn matches.
Yeah, and I always tell people that they should do that because you learn what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, watch and listen. You can see when they got the people and what they do to lose the people. Right. Just fucking watch and listen.
Just watch.
It ain't rocket science.
But people nowadays think they're so good because they made it to this level, they don't have to do anything else. They can just go out and do their own shit, and that's that's not how it works.
Yeah.
I've been doing it 17 years for a reason, because I pay attention to the people, what they want, So
36. We've covered briefly about how many more years you got in the tank. You said you got a lot left, but realistically, I mean, if nothing bad happened, 5, 10.
Yeah, I mean, if
I don't like to look that far down the road, so right. I'm not trying to answer. I don't. I need to shut up and let you answer the question.
No, I mean, like you said, I right now I feel like I can go 10 years, whether I do or not. Right. With everything I got in the works now, is still up in the air. But I mean, if I had to go 5, 10 years, I don't think that'd be a problem at all.
Hey man, what's a favorite building or town you like to wrestle in?
Man, that's here in the States or just anywhere.
Anywhere.
I love, working over in England, like in London.
Yeah.
When we go over there, man, it's just,
what do you like about it?
It's just, the fans are so respectful. It's just wild and crazy. You watch TV now, and a lot of fans, they just sit on their ass. So if I pay money to go to a show, I'm going to raise as much hell as I can,
Right.
But and here in the States, you see that all the time on TV, like the fans that sit there and just, not even cheering. Over there, man, they're raising hell from the start of the show to the end,
Well, you people out there that watching James Storm on the TNA, make a little bit of noise. This motherfucker done turned heel. Throw your drink at him or something.
Hopefully a beer.
He's looking for some reaction. Just don't hit him in his left eye. Talk about Kurt Angle. James, you won a gold medal in the 1996 Olympics. You're aware of that, right?
I've heard that.
You heard it. That's a true story. Hey, man, so you're beating the road. You're making $5 a night. You're paying your dues. You're learning the business. And then how long till you get that call and until go up to WCW?
Man, I did some indie work for about 5 years. And then I started working with this guy named Bert Prentice that used to run some stuff in Nashville. And he had a little deal set up with WCW. Well, the whole Cowboy gimmick that I'm doing actually started out as a rib. on this guy that was like talking a bunch of shit or whatever. Me and him was a tag team one time, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make fun of you. So it was just a rib on him, me making fun of him, and the sumbitch just took off. And so I started going to Nashville. Bert called me up there, started doing some shots, and he got some stuff with WCW. Then me and Biss, AJ Styles, a guy named Corey Williams, Ashley Hudson, and Air Paris. We all started going up to WCW, and we was the R&B security team for Vince Russo.
Right.
And then they put us on like worldwide matches and stuff like that. And we go out there and just we work with Chronic and Chavo, and they were doing like a military gimmick and stuff. But they wouldn't really, to me, I don't think they was really looking for guys. They wasn't looking for. They was just looking for guys to go out there and bump, because there was a situation that happened somewhere in Colorado where they had some guys that didn't know how to bump, and somebody like fell and almost hurt Hogan's leg or something. So they called down to Bert to get guys that knew how to bump, and so we started going up there and started bumping for these guys.
So what happened with the WCW run? I mean, you were there when they sold out?
Yeah, I was there when they sold out.
So
man.
you never was really ever able to get a good contract year?
No,
right.
we just went up there on a nightly basis. We were making $500 a night. I thought I was rich as hell. You going for $5, $10, $15 a night to here we go, $500 a night. And then they sold out. I was like, oh, shit, back to the Indies. And my uncle owned a construction business. So I started running a track hoe and backhoe and working on the weekends and all this. And then Terry Taylor called me up. He goes, hey, man, this company's about to start up. Won't you come and try out or whatever? So Jerry Jarrett was there. So I talked to him a little bit. And I wrestled Chris Harris, my old tag team partner, that night. And Bob Ryder came up to us and said, we'll be in touch with both of you guys, and signed a contract. And away I went.
You're in TNA. And you're the only original cat from day one.
Yeah, I'm the only one left. AJ Styles was.
How many years has that been now?
12 years.
God dang.
Yeah.
Time flies by, doesn't it?
Man, you don't think about it. Everybody's like, oh, especially with kids or whatever. Oh, you better hang around them because they grow quick. You don't really register it. And then 10, 15 years later, like, damn, where'd it go?
Answer me a question. When I first started watching TNA, y'all had that, what was it, hexagon ring?
Yeah, that six-sided ring.
Yeah, so it's a hexagon.
Yeah.
Not an octagon. That'd have been a UFC. Y'all have really been fighting.
I'd have been in trouble.
So, but that ring threw me. But they were really catering. Am I wrong? It was more cruiserweight oriented back then.
Yeah.
But anyway, that ring bothered me. Did you like performing in that ring?
To me, it didn't really matter, but I just didn't like the look of it just because I grew up with a four-sided ring.
Tradition.
Yeah.
Four-sided ring. Squared circle.
Everybody always asks me how hard was it to work in it. And I'm like, it wasn't hard because I can only hit one damn rope at a time, so. Right. But it gave me, I don't jump off the top rope anyway, so I don't really care about that.
It's because you're smart. No, hold on. No, stop.
Hey, but that's the truth, because I look at it, guys like you, you take yourself, Hunter, Rock. When's the last time you guys went on the top rope?
I ain't jump off shit. Back when I was in Japan, I did, but hold on. We're talking about jumping. I was reading where I get a lot of my information. On the Wikipedia, you had a basketball scholarship to Austin Peay University.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, it's true.
And you just said that you can't jump, so you must have been one hell of a ball handler or one hell of a shooter.
I said I don't jump off the top rope.
But
still, I don't jump.
I mean, I can't jump over a June bug in my driveway. So, do you got a little bit of vertical jump?
Oh, yeah. I can still jump. And
Come on, James. You're talking to me.
I play basketball.
You look at me right in the face. Only had 2 beers. Don't sit and lie to me. Can you jump? You think you can out-jump me?
We can try.
We could try. Now, I expect this motherfucker to say, you damn right. I know I can jump higher than your crippled ass.
Hey, if you don't put your knee braces on, I believe I can out-jump you.
That's it. That's a little bit of respect from a younger guy to a true veteran like myself, paying me a little bit of respect. If you can't out-jump me, I'll have to whip your ass in my own front yard. But anyway, so tell me about this basketball scholarship. I mean, was you a pretty good hoops player, obviously?
Yeah, I actually played point guard. I still play, I grew up in a trailer park.
You see, right now, you're a cat like in a pickup game. All of a sudden, like the dude with the long hair, okay, you'll be the last guy.
I'm the last guy. And then they're like, what the fuck happened here? I'm doing Steve Nash stuff out there on it. And I still play. I mean, a lot of guys in TNA, they didn't believe I can play. And then, we go to a basketball court and I start out hooping them. They're like, what the hell is going on here, So, yeah.
But see, back in when you was in your grade school years, Obviously, you didn't have that wig. You had the short hair, I'm imagining.
No, I had the mullet going on.
You had the mullet going?
That's when it was cool.
But now it ain't a mullet, it's long hair.
Right, yeah.
Back then it was a mullet.
Yeah.
So you come out of this, into the trailer park, get in the business of pro wrestling. Your mother raised you, right? In the business of pro wrestling, there's a lot of shit going on.
Yeah.
How you keep your nose clean, keep away from all that shit.
Man, I never was the type to do any kind of drugs. I just didn't see it. You know, I've seen so many people messed up on it, whatever, you know, and hell, I didn't really start drinking until I got into pro wrestling, but that's when I start, you know, and that's my really drug of choice is beer. You know, I don't take pills. I don't even take aspirin. I'll drink a beer or take a shot of Jack Daniels to kill the pain, and that's it.
Man, my damn wife, she won't even take a leave. You met her before she went over to Zumba class a while ago. She coming back from a cold and she got a bad back. And I've been putting them damn Tiger Balm patches on her back. And I tell her, I said, man, that damn baby, I said, you got taking a leave or something. And she goes, well, it's okay to take one on an empty stomach. And I'm like, okay, I've been around the horn, okay? I was pretty much, I took a few pain pills back in the day when I needed to.
Yeah.
So I'm not afraid of a pain pill, but my wife is, she's that straight up, just taking a leave type thing. You're married, right?
Yeah.
And you got kids?
Yeah. Got 2 kids, a little boy and a little girl.
And does your wife do the Zumba stuff, or you said she does
all that shit.
Ballet or something?
She just told me today about some kind of, I thought it was like stripping class because she said pole, but she says like some like ballet or some shit.
Yeah.
More than me to do it. That ain't happening.
So, no, talk to me about this, James. I think you need to take this with an open mind. If you were to go to this class with your wife and dance.
No, let's go see you do some Zumba. I'm sure you still got them Zumba pants from back in the day. Put your fanny pouch on. And
I got a key to the gym I train at half mile down the road. You're going to catch me at a lot of places doing a lot of things, but the place you ain't going to catch me at is doing Zumba with my wife. Tell me about your weightlifting schedule, your training schedule. Everybody always asks me, what was your workout routine when you was back on the road? My answer is just kind of standard shit. I grew up, reading Powerlifting USA, reading Muscle and Fitness and all those magazines. Got trained like a bodybuilder, but I was a football player. Yeah. I'm an athlete first and foremost, and I always wanted to be a pro wrestler. So I just kind of, my physique is what it is. I ain't a genetic wonder by any stretch, but I just worked out to be fit and stick with the basics. What's your training routine now that you're still in the ring and still traveling on the road?
I don't work out as much as I should, but I'm one of those body types. I ain't never going to be jacked and, have the 8-packs and 6-packs and all that.
Right. Only 6-pack you're going to have is in the bag in your right hand that you walked in the front door with.
That's
Same
it.
with me. Yeah.
That's it, I work out 5 days a week. I go do my cardio and I do my lifting at night. And
what do you do for cardio?
Tires. I pick up tires and we got a parking lot out front and I'll just pull them, or I'll do a bunch of jump ropes or whatever. I don't do, treadmills and elliptical machines and all that stuff.
The thing about you can be a real hardcore person on a treadmill or an elliptical, but that doesn't always translate to the ring.
No.
Brother, once you get in there, you start kicking and punching and wrestling, and you're in the crowd and you got a little bit of nerves to boot with it, with some adrenaline pumping on top of that, you can blow up quicker than quick.
Yep.
And so you see a lot of cardio kings out there, but all of a sudden they get in that ring, mister, it's a whole different ball game. I'd made a couple comebacks back in the day, and I'd, do my due diligence, do what I could, but not having access to a ring.
Yeah.
When I first went to WWF, a lot of people don't know it. I went up to Al Snow's school in Lima, Ohio. I always had a lot of respect for Al Snow's work, and he had a pretty good school up there. So I went and spent 5 days with him to kind of knock some of the rust off coming back from my tricep injury coming out of ECW. And then it took me about 2 solid months of working with Savio Vega, who's a Puerto Rican guy. And Savio, you know Savio.
Oh, yeah.
Hell of a guy. Hell of a worker. And, man, he kicked my ass for, at least 4 weeks. And when I started getting into shape, mister, there wasn't anybody on the card that could follow that match. He got me in shape. There ain't nothing like ring shape.
No, that's what I always tell people. I'm like, you can stay on that treadmill for an hour. You give me 30 minutes, flipping tires and swinging a hammer or something where I'm physically moving all the time. Because I always tell people we always stop and start, stop. And you don't do that in treadmill. You're just sitting there just running the whole time.
And when you explode, whether you're firing up, coming back, or it's time to get vicious and get some heat, and you done blowed up all your energy shining a summit up for 7 to 10 minutes. Now you got to get some heat, but you too blowed up. So you lay in a rear chin lock for 5 minutes, and call the 2 obligatory hope spots, which are 2 or 3 steppers. That's bullshit. You didn't get your shit in.
Right.
You didn't establish any heat.
Yeah.
All you did was hold the summits down. That's not acceptable. When people are paying $25, $30, I don't know what the price of a ticket is, they ain't paying to see you laying a rear chin lock. And I'm not running down a rear chin lock. I use it a lot of times. But you got to get your shit in first before you grab that hold.
Right.
Because at some point you do got to grab that hold. But you can't just shut a motherfucker down who you've been shining up for 10 minutes, get 60 seconds of heat and sit until hold.
Well, the crowd's don't shit on it anyways. Why are they gonna care about somebody, a babyface that's been whooping the shit out of the heel the whole time? The heel holds there for the heel didn't do nothing.
You can't get behind him. No. And you got to cheat during the process of getting that heat as well. Give him some good hope spots. And anyway, I'm rambling on. But I watch some of these cats in the UFC. I know you're a big UFC fan as well. And man, you talk about taking conditioning to a whole nother level. Man, them dudes are absolutely insane. and I dig it the most. I think, if I'd have played some of their training principles into what I was doing back in the day, I don't know what I could have done in the ring. Because I was one of those guys that kind of had a reputation for never blowing up. But I blew up often, but I just worked through it.
Right.
I just keep going.
You didn't show it. Yeah.
I'm going to put on my show. Yeah, because people didn't pay whatever they paid to see me suck wind.
Right.
They paid to see me whoop ass. But are you taking your training to the highest level that you can, or you think you're status quo? You're cool where you at?
No.
Is there room for improvement? What is the next step for James Storm then to up your ante?
You talking about like cardio wise?
No cardio. Just bring what you bring to the squared circle.
It's just, man, I just to beat the shit out of the babyface, to make them care about this guy that I'm kicking the shit out of, even if they like me. They're like, man, that shit wasn't right. Okay, we got to cheer for this guy to whoop his ass. And that's my whole mentality is I don't want to be cheered. I want to go back to the days where them son bitches come out and try to set my fucking car on fire, or want to stab me or something. Like I want heat, It's hard to get it these days.
Watching your in-ring work, and you come from the Tennessee, Nashville area. You grew up watching USWA, correct?
I remember one of my favorite guys watching was Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert back in the day.
But you don't work like Hot Stuff.
No.
So my question to you is, and man, you're coming from Lawler country, from Dutch country, from Dundee country, Fargo country, Jarrett country. Who really influenced your body of work? Who did you look to as your go-to guy? Okay, here's the question. Who's your favorite pro wrestler of all time? Because you're going to have you guys, Ric Flair camp, Hogan camp, Terry Funk camp, Dory Funk, Harley Race. Who's your favorite of all time? One answer.
Mr. Perfect.
Curt Hennig.
Yeah.
I'll be damned.
He was my favorite of all time. And I remember when he came to TNA, he would actually sit there, man, when I come back. He goes, why in the fuck did you do that? And he would sit me down and tell me, don't do that, don't do this. And we go out afterwards and have a beer. We talk about it.
When I first rolled into WWF, Curt Hennig and I crossed paths a few times while I was in WCW and he was in WWF. And, Curt, he was cool with everybody. Everybody loved and respected Curt. And he was just a great ribber, but he was just a great person.
Yeah.
And a wonderful sense of humor. And if he was having a bad day, you'd never know it because he had a smile on his face. As soon as I rolled into WWF, the first thing he did was come up to me and goes, hey, I want you to meet somebody. He took me into the production truck and introduced me to Kevin Dunn. He goes, this is Kevin Dunn. This is Steve Austin. He's working here. This is the guy you need to know. He can help you out. And he didn't have to do that.
Right.
He didn't have to go out of his way to introduce me to Kevin Dunn and the production truck. Me and Kevin Dunn are good friends to this day, and who was paramount in many of the things that were done for me. But that's the kind of guy that Curt Hennig was.
Yeah.
What was it about him? To me, Curt just had, first of all, he was badass, solid worker. Everything he did looked great. I've never seen anybody have so much energy or jump in their legs.
Right.
The way he could sell a leg trip or some of the crazy bumps. I've never seen anybody that had the explosion in their legs that he did.
Even just taking, just head into the turnbuckle. That's something to flip all the way back across the ring or over the ropes or something. And I go back to these days and still watch his matches and just seeing how the stuff was put together and how he worked it. I mean, to me, he was beyond his time. Like it was great just watching him and how easy he made it look. How, he made the other guy look so good by bumping around him.
What's up, Brian Deegan here. I'm excited to bring you our podcast, The Deegans, that will be every Wednesday on PodcastOne and Apple Podcasts. We'll be covering many subjects such as racing, family, how we stay together, how we thrive as a family. So I think it's exciting. We're going to cover all those subjects and many more.
Be sure you guys check out our new podcast, The Deegans, airing every Wednesday on PodcastOne and on Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review.
You're listening to another classic episode of The Steve Austin Show, only on PodcastOne.
James, did you hear the commas and the periods that I just put in before I addressed you? Because that means I am about to go to the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards. Uh-oh. Dave Meltzer, at Dave Meltzer, WON on Twitter, awarded me or graded my match in 1991 with Terry Taylor, PN News, and Bobby Eaton, as the worst work match of the year. You, James, have been in 2 worst worked matches of the year. In 2006, in a TNA Reverse Battle Royal.
I still don't understand that one, but all right.
And in the 6 Sides of Steel blindfold match.
Electric cage. That.
So we don't need to go into deep detail on the matches themselves. I tried to watch the Reverse Battle Royal. I could only catch part 1, and then part 2 was not available on YouTube. I have yet to subscribe to the WWE Network, which if it's on there, it will be. But anyway, my point is not to go into details on the match and all of the guys at hand, because I've been in some stinkers in my career. But so what happened? And so what were your feelings when you learned that you had been in the worst match of the year?
I didn't even know that. I don't.
Now, come on, James.
I didn't know
up in a dime.
I didn't know about
I didn't know about the stop. Exclamation points after the stop. You're in technology, baby.
That's true.
You got to know. You got your ear word on the street. In 1991, I'd heard that I was in the worst match of the year. In 2006, 2007, these are the hard questions I'm asking you. So if this is news to you today, how do you feel now, some 6 and 7 years later, knowing that those were the shittiest matches of the year?
It makes me feel good. At least I won an award.
But it's all subjective is what I say.
It is. The Reverse Battle Royal, I didn't even, know about that one. But it's one of those matches, the boys look at it, they're like, how, what?
Here's the thing, and let me bust in here. When you're thrown into a situation, you're booked into a situation, you make of it what you will. You guys are booked into a clusterfuck, and so, on paper, it sounds intriguing or interesting. When it comes down to going out there in that space that is the squared circle and surrounds the squared circle, whole different ball game of the execution of said match. So that being said, as I watched how that clusterfuck, I didn't think it was that bad because I saw 10, 12 minutes of it and I couldn't get part 2. It wasn't that bad. You guys did everything you could to make a match of what you had. But that being said, how much stock do you put in, what the dirt sheets or the newsletters say about who and what you're doing in the ring?
To me, they have their place in wrestling. They good thing is they watch the matches. At least that's all I can say. At least they watch and they give their input, and that's the best thing. Everybody has their own different inputs. These guys are lucky enough to have a job to do something on the internet to give their input. That's how I look at it.
Agreed.
And, you read it and you can either take it with a grain of salt and kind of learn from everybody's, opinion. Right. Just don't take one opinion, take everybody's different opinion.
Hey, speaking of the dirt sheets, and, we're just talking about the 2 worst matches of the year, 2006, 2000, back to back. I succeeded in accomplishing the worst match of the year in 1991. You was able to pull it off not once but twice, and in back-to-back fashion.
That's pretty good.
That speaks volumes to the career. No, I'm just kidding you. But anyway, back in the day, in the kayfabe days, people started passing around those sheets in the locker room, and they was kayfabe.
Yeah.
Because if you was caught with the sheet, then you was, on the dark side, and it wasn't right, because that's how the business was back then.
Right.
Did the sheets exist? I'm sure they existed, but were people passing them around when you broke in?
Yeah, I remember, I don't even know what year it was now.
Or were you on the cutting edge of the computer technology and everything?
No. I remember they had the sheets. It was 8, 9 sheets or something like that. And I'd always lose track and forget, because I could never keep it organized in the right way, like trying to read it too. But I didn't know really where it came from or whatever, but I guess people got it mailed to them, so they had to subscribe to it and all that shit. And then later on, I learned, no, these people subscribe to it. Then, like you said, they were looked at as the dark people, as maybe they were leaking information to people like this,
Six Sides of Steel. I didn't get a chance to see that. I couldn't find it.
Oh, yeah, don't watch that one. Jesus Christ. I remember.
I caught a couple 2-minute clips, and that was it.
I remember doing that match. And the people there, they didn't want to see any kind of blindfold match. They wanted to see action. They wanted to see ass whipping, blah, blah, blah. And I remember we got in the ring, and the damn blindfolds, they had to go and get them, and the blindfolds wouldn't stay on, and we had to keep trying to put them some bitches back on. And then they were saying something, and I remember in the back of my head, I said, fuck it. I'm taking it home now. And we still had about 4 minutes left. I took it home, got out, went to the ring, and Vince Russo was standing right there. When I got back, he goes, I couldn't have done that. And he was the one booking the show. Yeah. He goes, I would have probably ended it long before this.
So how'd you like working with Vince Russo?
He was good. I mean, to me, like, he always treated me with respect. Like, he'd come up, he'd talk to me and blah, blah, blah. And he was actually the one who kind of gave me the freedom to do my own promos and stuff, instead of like bringing this whole promo to me, and because BG James he told me the best. He goes, no disrespect.
You talking about the Road Dogg, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He goes, you have a Yankee writing the show and writing your promos for a redneck.
Right.
That only thinks stereotypical style of how he talks.
Right.
He goes, he don't know how you really are or how you really talk. If he wants you to be you, he should let you do his own. And I went to him, I said, hey, Vince, you mind if I just do my own promo one time, whatever? He goes, yeah. He goes, hell, go out there and do it, And I went out there and did it. And ever since then, man, I've just been doing my own stuff.
So what's your approach to a promo these days? You got some words to say. And what is the creative process at TNA right now? Because who's booking you guys?
They have, some different guys that have big, John right now, who's doing stuff, and Matt Conway and Dave Lagana is writing the shows. And, but
but when left to cut promos, they say, James, here's the situation, you're in.
You go hit the bullet points and you put it in your words.
Yeah. Do your thing.
Yeah. And so, I make every promo basically almost like real life stuff. Like, if this was real life, what would I say to this guy right here? Instead of, oh, I'm going to kill you or blah, 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 or some of the shit they have written sometimes, It's like I'm going to go out here and
you got to put it into what you can actually do.
Because if you don't believe it, the crowd, they ain't going to believe it.
You mentioned earlier in our conversation that one of your favorite promos was Michael P.S. Hayes, but let's go back to that, because we're talking about we're talking about drawing money, we're talking about putting asses in the seats, and you have to have an intriguing angle. You have to have a personal issue. You have to have a worthwhile opponent. Talk a little bit more about some of the other people who you've liked as promo guys that made you want to buy the ticket because you felt what they were saying.
Yeah, I would have to say Jake Roberts was to me, because he never raised his voice. He didn't never yell at the TV. He made you want to turn the TV up to hear what the hell he was saying.
Or shut up.
Yeah, because you
tell everybody shut the fuck up so you could hear what Jake said.
Because he would say something like, like you would stop talking or doing whatever, just kind of listen to him, and he just had that delivery.
Agreed.
That, shit's about to go down.
Right. I agree.
And he was to me, one of the best promo guys ever. Like he should be teaching guys one-on-one how to do a damn promo.
Did you watch, and we were talking about this earlier, you saw the Hall of Fame for 2014 at WrestleMania 30 in New Orleans. I was front row, sitting one person away from the immortal Hulk Hogan, watching Jake do that speech. And, man, he started off, and he just started, and he got intense, and then he took it dark, and then he came out, and then it was a goddamnedest acceptance speech I've ever seen. And it was a hell of a promo, and it came from his heart, and none of it was off of paper. It was all coming from his heart and his guts and his brain. And I was like, God dang, he took me in so many different directions. And it was incredible.
Yeah,
but it goes to speak to what kind of promo it was.
Right.
Just in trying to draw money, but just speaking from the heart, telling about the wrestling business and what it meant to him and the impact that it had on his life and the trials and tribulations that he went through and to where he is now. But God damn, it was riveting.
It was a roller coaster because I remember sitting there and I was just like you said, it's like he started here and then he just went completely dark.
At times I was thinking, dude, you might lose me, and then and I know you didn't. Yep. You just hooked me deeper.
Right.
Oh, he was weaving a tale there.
Yep.
I mean, he was talking about his dedication or what that ring meant to him, and to me, what it's got to mean to anybody that gets in it. So anyway, we got Michael P. S.A.'s, we got Jake Roberts' two influential promos in regards to you. Curt, Mr. Perfect Hennig was your go-to favorite pro wrestler of all time. Is there a number two who comes to mind quickly?
To me, it was Shawn and Bret. Just because I remember watching Shawn, before he got to WWE as the Rockers, and even when they were doing the tag team as the Rockers, him and Marty, and that whole feud that, when he kicked him through the window and all that, I was like, I was like,
right.
No, you just killed the Rockers,
Right.
So it was one of the, and this, and then the side of the business, I don't know what drew me to Bret, like always watching Bret in the ring and working with guys and stuff. He always heard that he worked snug. But he never hurt people,
Right. So, okay, now I'm asking you, we got Shawn Michaels and we got Bret Hart, and they're both the same age. You're building a promotion. You can only pick one of them. Which one are you going to pick?
I'd have to take Shawn.
Why?
Just because, I guess, more charismatic and, just he's more over the top as Bret is the technical wrestler. And, if I'm building a promotion, I want the guy that I can send out to help sell tickets and put asses in seats, and this guy can be over the top and he'll do whatever is asked for him, whereas Bret he's a wrestler. This is what, but nothing against Bret. He can go out and just whoop some ass and he put on the best matches on the card,
Right.
But Shawn has that charisma about him that kind of draws people to him.
Okay, that being said, now I've worked with both men and speak in the highest regard to both men. I've often said that Shawn Michaels is the greatest in-ring performer I have ever seen. I've never seen him fuck anything up. I've only seen him perform at the highest level. I've been in many, many more matches with Bret the Hitman Hart and speak volumes of how badass it is to be in the ring working with that guy who is an absolute artist inside a squared circle. So much praise to both guys. So as much as I think about both these guys, you've often drawn comparisons to Shawn Michaels. A little bit with the look.
Right.
You got the hair. I mean, somewhat the same physique. He's probably a little bit trimmer, but the super kick. So was Shawn Michaels influential in your finish maneuver or influential in anything you've done in the squared circle?
No, I mean, just the way he performs in the ring, I mean, he moves so smoothly, and to me, he kind of reminds me of almost like a Mr. Perfect, how he bumps. I mean, he takes just crazy bumps and makes it look easy.
Pretty.
Yeah. And
I mean that in the most positive manner I can reflect.
Right, and that's the way that Mr. Perfect did it. Like he just made it look easy and pretty. I mean, but as far as a super kick, it was just something that I used to use what I call the eye of the storm, the whirlybird, as a finish or whatever. And then you get to a certain point where there's some guys you just can't get up in that move. You get guys that are 280, something like that. And I just figured it's easier just to kick them.
Right.
Plus, that's really the only move I can do when I'm drunk.
What move? Oh, now, that being said, you've never entered the square circle with a buzz, have you?
Not on TV.
Okay, that was a pause, and that means there were several of those commas I was talking about. Did you always use the super kick? What were you using when you first started out?
Yeah, when I started out in 1997, that's when I was working Tony Falk.
Okay, it's funny because, Shawn Michaels has got the super kick over, but, I think, Chris Adams was using it before him, and there's probably someone before Chris Adams using it before him, and before that, someone was using it, but it's always about the guy that gets it over.
Right. I think Shawn perfected it. Because he used it constantly for so many years and, won so many high-profile matches off of it. Everybody associates him as being the founder of the super kick.
I remember when they brought me into WWF back in the day when I was a ringmaster and, I could go. I was a good mechanic. Wasn't a star yet, but, so they put me in the ring with Shawn a lot after Savio Vega got me in shape because I could give Shawn a good match.
Yeah.
And he just needed a good win. And so, I was getting kicked in the shin every single night. If it wasn't that, it was getting beat by Bret Hart. But God damn, man, Shawn Michaels kicking the shin. It's like working with Ricky Morton.
Yeah.
It looked good, but never hurt. Right. I ain't never get one busted lip, no nothing, this, that, whatever. It was always a pleasure to get kicked in the chin by Shawn Michaels and lay there and get my damn retina suntan by looking up at the lights. Years later, it would change where Shawn Michaels got his belly button pierced and he was on the receiving end of a stunner. And I don't know how many times I kicked that damn piercing out of his, he had one of those ring gimmicks in his navel. And that was my zone when I set up for the stunner, and I kicked that motherfucker and it'd pop out and I'd hit him with the stunner for the 1, 2, 3 or whatever it was. But times change, but you always got to have a finish, in my opinion, that's easy to give and easy for the person on the receiving end to take. Because, the F5 that Brock Lesnar uses is great because he's Brock Lesnar and he's one of the strongest human beings on the planet. And he can give it to anybody and anybody can take it.
Yeah.
But if you put that on a guy that's 5'6", 200, not so much.
Right.
So to all you cats out there who are coming on the way up, think about your finish and think about something that's effective that you can use and deliver to anybody of any size, height, or weight.
Yeah, and I take pride in, like, my 17 years, I've never hurt anybody with a super kick. It's just one of those things. And I've had come back and I've had people say, you look like you killed him.
To my knowledge. You know what?
to my knowledge.
To my knowledge. On my behalf, I don't think anybody has suffered any long-lasting effects from a Stone Cold Stunner.
Now, how'd you come up with the stunner?
I didn't come up with it, man. We was in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and Michael P.S. Hayes, your favorite promo guy and one of my favorite pro wrestlers, came up to me as he's one of the agents. This is his exact words. Hey, kid, you got a minute? Yeah, I do. Come here. So we go out to the ring, and he grabs a couple of enhancement guys. And I want to show you something. And he starts telling me about this finish move. And he goes, Johnny Ace is using a version of this called the Ace Crush over in Japan. DDP's using a version of this over in WCW, but they're going flat out. Nobody's going to their ass. If you go into a sit-down position and explain it to me. And so I actually started doing the stunner to a couple of the guys, minus the kick. We hadn't invented a kick yet, the setup move, which was also inspired by Jake the Snake Roberts, as he used to always like to hit his guy with the short arm clothesline before he went into the DDT as a setup move.
Yeah.
That wasn't invented yet. This was just about the stunner. So he showed me the move. I immediately liked it and said, yeah, I'll do it. So out of the blue, I started hitting guys with the stunner, but there was no telegraphing of it. People didn't know it was going to come. It could always come out of nowhere, which was good, but you need to telegraph a little bit. Right. James, you got any advice to any cats? Because I get people all the time that send emails to questions@steveaustonshow.com about things they need to know, things they need to do to get in the business. Now, I stress trying to find a reputable training ground. I stress learning to tell a story, learning how to take a bump, learning that you only have so many bumps left in your tank, promo ability. But is there anything that you have to say to anybody that would help them further themselves down the road in regards to getting to the business of pro wrestling? And I also, before I get to you, James, I tell everybody get an education. Anything I do these days. I stopped short 17 hours. I dropped out of college because I got burnt out on doing research papers to get into the, start working full time at Watkins Motor Lines, driving my forklift and loading and unloading trucks. And the business of pro wrestling worked out for me, as it has you. So I always suggest highly in education, the highest that you can get. But to that, you say what? Of anyone wanting to get into the business of pro wrestling?
I'm just like you. Find a school with somebody who's been there, who knows what it takes to get to the top or something like that. If you go to Joe Blow, the mechanic down the road, who's never done anything but worked, a couple indies around the ring, I mean, that's not really going to help you out any. You need knowledge. And I always say, before you learned all these moves, because we have all these guys in the wrestling business now that does 10,000 different moves, learn to fucking sell. I watch wrestling now, and a lot of people don't know how to sell. They'll get punched in the mouth, and they'll just come up, and feed away without even grabbing their face or something like this. So,
dude, I couldn't agree with you more. Let me cut in on you. I was down there, whether it was in Dallas, Texas, or it was down there in Memphis somewhere. I was working for USWA, working for Jerry Jarrett and Tojo Yamamoto. I came in, I was jacked up, been playing football in North Texas State, weighed 250 pounds, in shape, in good, athletic. But, I had a big man complex. 250 pounds ain't big.
Right.
In pro wrestling.
Yeah.
But it was big for me. It was big for the territory. And I was green. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I wasn't selling. So Tojo came up to me and he goes, let me talk to you. He goes, you no sell enough. And, I'm like, okay, I'm not really getting what you're talking about. And he says, grab my ear. And he grabbed my earlobe. And so I reached up and grabbed his earlobe, and he cringed over and he turned his neck sideways and he closed his eyes like, I really fucking hurt this guy.
Yeah.
He goes, that's sell. And it was like a light went off in my fucking brain. It was like, oh, I get it.
Right.
Nobody knows that you feel pain unless you show pain. Nobody cares that you feel pain unless you show that you feel pain and that it affects you and that it hurts. So that any babyface, any heel has to show that what their opponent is doing to them affects them on a physical, mental, and personal level. At a medical level, nobody gives a flying fuck.
Right.
Tojo Yamamoto is a guy that by grabbing his earlobe and him cringing taught me how to sell. Now, certainly you can look back at when I was stone cold. I sold to the degree that I sold in a different fashion.
Right.
But I did sell. And in speaking to selling to your body type, I often reference The Undertaker, who at 6'10", give or take 300 pounds, sold on the run. You had to stay on that guy because he was bigger than most guys in the territory. So, he would kind of backpedal once you got him hurt, but you had to stay on him because theoretically, by the size advantage he had, he would be able to whip your ass. So you had to stay on him, and that's why your cardio had to be up. But that's how smart he was to sell on the run.
Right.
But you got to sell.
That's it. That's what I tell everybody. I'm like, you can do all the moves in your world, but if you don't know how to sell nowadays, you might as well forget it.
Selling, and then you got to have fire as a babyface, a mean streak as a heel. And as we wrap up this conversation with the Cowboy, James Storm, total nonstop action on Spike TV, having a good run, turning heel, trying to piss people off, make them hate his ass.
Thanks for messing it up for me, Steve.
Yo, he's got a tough road to hoe, but it is what it is. And we're sitting here at 316 Gimmick Street talking about the business of pro wrestling and drinking beer. Hashtag beer drinker. James, I appreciate you coming by the crib.
Hey, anytime, man.
Here we are in 2020, and that means it's time for a fresh start. A good place to begin should be with your bank account, so why not save some cash with our friends at Geico? With Geico, it will only take you 15 minutes to save 15% or more on car insurance. Geico has been offering great rates and great service for over 75 years, and anytime you need help, you can speak to one of their trained specialists 24/7. Go to geico.com and start saving cash. Extra money in your pocket? It may just be the most rewarding thing you do today. All right, everybody, give me the go-home cue. It's time to wrap up this podcast and ride off in the sunset. Hey, don't forget to rate and review the Steve Austin Show on Apple Podcasts and tell your friends to check us out. If you want to reach me here on the podcast, send an email to questions@steveaustonshow.com. Good news. Broken Skull IPA from El Segundo Brewing Company is spreading across the United States of America, one state at a time. We're all over the whole state of California, moving into Oregon. We're on the East Coast in Massachusetts, New Jersey, and New York. Looking to plow into some other states, probably about 6 or 8 in 2020. Go to the ElSegundoBrewing.com website, look on their interactive map, find out when we're headed your way and where you can find the best IPA in America, and that's the bottom line. King of Attitude shirts, Broken Skull Ranch apparel at ProWrestlingTees.com/Steve Austin. If you're looking for a badass pocket knife, which I feel everyone should own, the Cold Steel Broken Skull knife or the Working Man's knife are available at my Amazon store. Amazon got the best price on both knives. Just go to Amazon.com/shop/Steve Austin. And I want to say one more thank you to all the fine sponsors of the Steve Austin Show, especially Geico, ZipRecruiter, and BetOnline.ag. That's how I'm able to do this podcast for you twice a week for free. Please support them because they support us. If you need more info, check out the show description to this episode for details. When you see me riding in the woods out there across the mountains, I'll be riding a Kawasaki. Until next time, my name is Steve Austin, and I will catch your ass down the road.
Thank you for joining us for another classic episode of The Steve Austin Show. Please leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and tell your friends. For more Steve Austin Show, go to PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.